We have arrived in Dubrovnik. We flew from Vegas to London yesterday, stayed in London, just in the airport, and then we've flown to Dubrovnik today. We arrived just as it was getting to the night. It's such an impressive city immediately. You come in, I guess you're fairly high up in the mountain, so you get to oversee the city as you come in and it's all lit up. For anybody that's a Game of Thrones fan, it's pretty much all of the big scenes in Game of Thrones. It's a very old historic town. Selena booked us into an Airbnb months ago and I'd completely forgotten what it looked like. I can't even remember looking at it, to be honest, but the owner met us and you pull up in the taxi to these cobbled streets and you go through an arch, takes us upstairs, and it's such a nice place. It's a loft room, but it's large enough, it's really well decorated, like the lighting, and apparently in the daytime it's got a really nice view, so kind of excited about that. The manager, the person looking after it, gave us probably a 20 to 30 minute extensive talk and guide using the map to show us where to go, where not to go, what certain things are, where scenes in Game of Thrones is, the best food, what to do. So that was really, really helpful because I have no idea and I do absolutely no planning. I'm sure Selena did some, but I definitely didn't.
No, I understood you do shut that door.
So funny.
Where are we going?
I don't know.
Is it all the way?
We have stopped at a place called Castello, which apparently has great meat, great salad. It's a very cool area. It just feels like you're in medieval times to me.
Yeah.
All of the streets are pretty cool, narrow. It's all wood and brick or stone. Is it stone or brick? Stone. Yeah. Stone streets. Everybody just meandering around. Say another good word.
We just finished our meal at a place called Castello. So our Airbnb guy, or the person that did the introduction, shared lots of restaurants to go to, and he highly recommended this place. And what did we had the meat salad. It was very good. So interesting thing, just paid. Coming to Croatia, I didn't know whether you'd need cash or card, and a lot of people say that most of the places expect cash.
Expect cash?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is it, that's their preference?
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
They do take card, but
yeah,
their preference,
they expect it. So when I asked for the bill, he said, oh, it's €66. And I said, do you take Amex? He said, no, of course not. And I said, so I went to pay for my card. He said, oh, but if you pay cash, it'll be €60, which he didn't lead with.
I guess it's the case of the banks that provide Visa and MasterCard and Amex, they all charge, because I think there's a network charge, and it's quite a bit. So for some, it's 3 or 4%. So maybe if you don't use that, it just costs them way less.
Yeah, so now we're just working out, probably does make more sense to take euros out.
Because you could save between 10 and 20%, which is quite a lot.
Although I felt like I could have bartered with him and got it lower.
Maybe you should have tried. Maybe we should just, because we had €100, but we didn't want to spend it on that and then come out and realise that we need it for smaller stuff. But we're now in the town. I think it's about 9 o'clock at night. It's still very busy. It's an unbelievably picturesque place.
Yeah, so this is I don't know if Ant's explained this, so we're in Old City in Dubrovnik, most famously known as a lot of the locations they used for Game of Thrones.
That bit I said, I didn't say the old town.
But in the Old City itself, you can't bring any cars, so it's all cobbled streets, pedestrian only, and you are literally in a walled city, which is pretty cool.
So I've been up probably, I don't even know, 4 or 5 hours now. Travel does not agree with me.
No, I've said that. So there's a whole thing for Ant. He struggles with the sleep, and then even when you get to sleep later, he still wakes up after a few hours.
So I laid in bed for a while, and then I got up, I think, around 6 a.m. here, which would be 9 p.m. at home, and went and grabbed a baguette, or I don't know what they are, it's a roll. I always forget in Europe, you can just pretty much walk into any place and get some of the best bread. Yeah. It was, I think, prosciutto, 2 types of cheeses, bread, very good. €4.50 as well, which is cheap compared to home. Sandwiches are like $9 at home now, aren't they?
And this isn't cheap.
Not a cheap place.
Especially where we are now.
So that was a good deal. The only thing I couldn't get was a cappuccino. I had to walk all the way down to town, which I couldn't be bothered to do. They only served espresso or double espresso here. But we're now up and we've bought the 3-day Dubrovnik.
Pass, yeah. So, because one of the main attractions here is to walk the city walls, and I think they charge you about €35 per person to do that. So, and that's the cost of the day pass anyway.
Yeah.
So they kind of force you into buying that, which it gets you transport. You can go to the museums, but
6 museums, 2 galleries, unlimited transport. I think we end up getting a 3-day one, which is €45 instead of 35. But it just means we don't have to fit it all in today, and I can come back and nap if I need to.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going to do now is go. I definitely want a coffee. Celine needs to eat breakfast because she hasn't had it, and then we'll probably start at the wall somewhere and collect the mail.
We'll get a bottle and we'll get that.
Walk. One of the things we've noticed is, unlike the US, which is trying to poison all of its citizens, and even the expensive places, a couple of dollars to maybe $4 to get unlimited soda drinks. So you can get Coca-Cola $4 unlimited for as long as you're in the restaurant. Here it's €5.30 for 250 milliliters. I can't convert that to American, but that's probably under half of a normal US sized drink.
It's bottled Coke, but irrespective, it was disproportionately expensive because we paid for a mixed meat platter,
25 euros. There was enough for 2 people.
It's supposed to sound like to you. Obviously, clearly thinking that it's supposed to say that, I don't know.
This is for our American fans and their obsession with guns. That's how Dubrovnik did it. Look at this thing. What even is that? Hard to get the scale, but it's probably, I want to say, over 5 feet long.
We just went to Rector's Palace. It was one of the museums that our Airbnb host had recommended in terms of learning a bit about the history of Dubrovnik, because neither of us knew anything about Dubrovnik until we got here. So we've been learning as we go along. And something I would say is, so during the summer, it gets very, very busy, and I was told that October is a good time to come, it's less crowded. It is still very busy in October.
Yes, extremely busy.
So,
and maybe we're just not used to it.
No.
I'm trying to think back to when we were in cities. It probably is this busy a lot of the time, but where we live now, there's nobody there. So maybe it's just more of a
we're
shock.
not used to it.
Because if you go out in London, do you think it's this busy?
It doesn't feel as congested as this does, no.
Okay,
in my opinion.
Okay, yeah.
And
No, you're probably right. Now I'm looking at it, because even I'm just looking up the hill, there's just hordes
Crowds
of people everywhere. I think this is all Game of Thrones.
What, people?
Yeah, no, I bet if you went pre-Game of Thrones, it wouldn't be like this.
Oh yeah, there is definitely brought in a lot of crowds, a lot of fans here.
Yeah.
But with Rector's Palace, we got there. So the first thing I noticed as soon as we went into Old City this morning was how busy it was. All the restaurants were busy, and then there was a crowd right outside Rector's Palace waiting to go in. So I thought initially there's a queue, but it is a moving queue, so it's fine. And it's definitely worthwhile going through. You learn there's paintings, a lot of old furniture. You get to see a prison cell.
I think it's stuff from about the 1200s or 1300s. There's information.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff more from 16, 17, 1800s, but there's definitely information from the 1300s. I didn't pick up when this whole thing was built, though. I don't think I saw that in there. This is the first time we've been outside of the walls. It's different. Feels a little bit, I don't know what it feels like. It's definitely very different from inside the walls. But having a look at what looks like a castle, but I'm guessing it's just a turret area, looks very cool. And the buildings are ridiculously nice. It reminds me a little bit of France. I sent some pictures to my friend who said it reminds him of Prague, just a nicer Prague. I've never been, so can't comment. Don't know where Selena's disappeared to, somewhere.
It's Blackwater Bay.
Blackwater Bay. Okay, so Blackwater Bay. But wasn't there a scene where the guy, Kingslayer, is practicing how to use his sword again? It's in an area like this.
Could be, yeah.
I don't know if it is that, but they have to come in and it's down from the wall.
That's pretty.
Guess it was just going to take us there. We're on our third and final day here, right?
In the old city of Dubrovnik.
Yeah, so we are heading towards one of the wall entrances. Celine tells you there's 3 across the old city.
So there's a few main attractions to do if you're coming to the old city of Dubrovnik. The museums are one of the main things in the actual town itself, and walking the actual city wall is another one of those, in which we're going to do today. And there's 3 entrances, Pearl Gate and the other 2 gates as well.
Yeah.
So we're just picking one of the ones that are closer. So Pearl Gate is the one that normally is the busiest entrance, and it goes all day from about 9 a.m. to about 6 p.m, sometimes 8 p.m. in the summer.
We just grabbed a coffee at a place called Kawa.
Life according to Kawa.
Yeah, the coffee here in Dubrovnik's been pretty good.
Really, really
it's
good,
quite short. It's served in a traditional coffee size, not American, which is like 24 ounces. It's just very
Normal
short, sharp
yeah.
coffee. It's very good. Probably not Australia level.
No, but I would say
good.
I've been enjoying it equally as much. The other thing that we're planning to do today, so the city wall, we're about to start, and we'll see how busy that is. And they say it can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on how quickly you walk the entire thing. And then depending on our energy later, Ant's not been sleeping that well at all.
No, it's the same old story. I'm boring people with it probably now, because I bring it up in every video where I'm traveling. Yeah, I forgot 3 hours again and I'm up since 4 a.m.
Depending on his energy levels later, we're planning to do the cable car. So that's the other really good thing to do here. It's the cable car where you can go up to the top of the mountain. There's a restaurant up there, which we're probably not going to do, but we'll definitely take the cable car if we can. And that's about €30 for a return.
Yeah, 30 for a return, which to me is quite expensive, but it's a tourist area, so we have to get over these. We do these silly things or I do them rather, where I refuse to spend a lot of money, but then it's silly. You're here, you're not going to spend another $1,000 or whatever it costs to get here to go on it. You might as well spend the 30 and just enjoy yourself, which is how they get you, and that's why I don't like doing it. Let's do it, my God. Views are spectacular.
But anyway, it's always possible somebody...
Other end, out to the ocean there. The building that we were in, or we walked past last night. Then out to the sea. The Airbnb host told us that one of the American people that stayed there was arguing with him that this isn't Croatia, it's Italy, which I believe, because we've experienced very similar things when we've travelled around the world. One of them being in Germany, and the lady not understanding that they speak German in Germany, which was quite impressive.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was, I mean, I get it, some obscure countries might speak a language that isn't the same as their name, but Germany's quite a well-known country around the world for all kinds of reasons, so it's a bit difficult to know a fully grown adult that doesn't know they speak German. I think what do you reckon, 1/3 of the way?
I think so.
Roughly.
You can cover quite a bit quickly if you walk fast, but it's one way, which I think makes a lot of sense, rather than making it more chaotic with people going both ways. So it's one way only, and most people aren't really rushing. Lots of people stopping to take pictures, and there's lots of places to stop, and you kind of climb up a few steps, and then you see these other views of around the city, which are really beautiful.
Can't see anything in these glasses.
What were they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not what we consider street food. Just heading to the cable car now. I think you already said it's going to be 30 euros. So we got to the cable car. I made the assumption there would be 4 or 6 on there at a time, as in the cars. There's only 2. I have no idea how many they can hold, maybe 20 to 30 people. But it's relatively slow to load and unload, so the queue's quite big. I don't think it will take that long. It's probably going to be a 15-20 minute wait, but you can see people getting off and there's no real queue area, so a lot of people getting off the cars and just having to queue on the street. So the reason why there's only 2 cars that run, they're 2 separate lines. It isn't like a ski lift where it's on a constant rotation, so you can put on 20 if you want, if there's enough space. It's just literally 2. They go up one line, down the same line. Same for the second one, which means obviously you can't have them because there's no way to queue them up. You'd never be able to get the people on and off of the second car. So that's the reason why. Got to the top, it's very fast. It's a 2-minute ride. Up the top, there's some pretty special views, and then of course shops and bars, but then some natural areas where you can just sit and relax, which is where we're walking now. Looks like there's a buggy tour. I think you can drive your own buggies.
Okay, so first we prepare the fire and then we put the meat and the.
Thank you.
How long? Yesterday we finished up our traditional lamb meal. I think it was great value for money, so lamb enough for 2, probably maybe 3 people, with potatoes, and we went for a mixed vegetable side which was super tasty, mostly aubergine. 1 litre of wine and a dessert was 110 euros, which I think is probably $120, which to me at a traditional place with enough food, pretty good value. We ended up meeting some Australians and an English couple and had a good chat with them over dinner, which was really fun. Went home, I crashed out fairly early, woke up very early, and we've just arrived at the second place, which is about 25-30 minutes from where we were in the old town. This is a resort called Sun something resort. I forgot, I'll look up in a moment. It is unbelievably beautiful. I think we are in, or we're meant to be in a 1-bed villa or apartment, but because we booked it through Amex, you get loads of additional benefits and credits. So you get $100 credit, free breakfast, early check-in. So we checked in at 11:45, 4 p.m. checkout. Not that we'll need it, but they've ended up upgrading us to a 2-bed apartment. Looking out now, they've got a playground. It's free to use all of the spa facilities, a 24-hour gym, which is perfect. I haven't worked out in 5 days now. Free, fairly large pools by the looks of it.
Be served on this terrace here.
Okay. The apartment they've given us is huge. I'll walk through in a moment. But yeah, very surprising. I wouldn't say they do the best job of advertising it online, and some of the reviews aren't the best. The complaints are never about the resort, but the complaints tend to be about the fact that because it's called Sun Garden Dubrovnik, people think it's part of the old town of Dubrovnik, where that's where most people want to go. It's still Dubrovnik, so I think it's a relatively large city, but people assume that all means the old town, and then you can't walk there because it's a half-an-hour taxi ride, so they have to get a taxi. So I don't think people like that part. However, in terms of the layout, the buildings, the service, it's all been very, very high in my opinion. One other thing people complain about is the price of the food here, which we are yet to experience. It's a new day again. We went to, was it a traditional Croatian restaurant? It was, wasn't it? It's a bit hard to describe because we've only had certain types of resort experiences. We did Turkey, or not Turkey, Egypt once, which was a long time ago. We do Mexico about once a year. In fact, we're going back this year again. This is the first time we've been to a resort that isn't an all-inclusive, but it sort of feels like it's a mini town. So the restaurants are part of the hotel, but the restaurants are run independently. So the family in there were a Croatian family that prepare the food that they want to, but they have deals with the hotel because it's on the hotel property. A lot of the complaints about this hotel is there's not really many food options, and the ones they do have are very expensive, and I can confirm they are very expensive. However, there's a food festival. I still don't fully understand how this works. Selena tells me it's not uncommon for this to happen around the world, and food places will join whatever this thing is for that city or town and offer, I'm guessing, dishes and cheaper prices. So this restaurant, rather than €50 per dish, it was €32 for a 3-course meal. And then we bought a couple of sides, I think, and a drink, but it was actually very good, I thought, especially for €32. It was a really good meal. This morning we've just gone to breakfast. Very good. So part of the Amex deal and package, you get the breakfast included. I have no idea how much they charge you. If not, I would guess €25 plus, because it's a huge spread. It has pretty much everything you could want, from English breakfast to continental breakfast to Croatian breakfast, coffees, teas, mimosas. Very enjoyable breakfast, especially when it's free with the Amex offer. So anyone that's got an Amex Platinum card, I don't think it works on the gold card, make sure you book your hotels, particularly if it's under their fine resorts. You get so many additional extras. Another thing we did yesterday, as part of just staying on the resort, you get access to the spa facilities. That includes multiple different types of sauna rooms, steam rooms, indoor pools, hydro stuff. And then you can walk from inside the spa all the way out to the outdoor pools. There's 3 very large pools here, and because it's off season, there were maybe 6 other people at each of the pools, so it was very peaceful. They also offer a delivery to your seat option, which you just scan the code and then someone brings you your food and drinks within 20 minutes. Well, the drinks got there in about 1 minute and the food got there in about 15 minutes or so. One thing I'm still getting used to is Croatia's pretty much a hill. Or a mountain, I don't know. So everywhere you go requires you to climb and descend a lot of stairs, whether you're in the old town or here. We're constantly going up and down, and I feel like I'm slightly out of breath even now. We've only walked probably 5 minutes. This is the last day for the pair of us, so Selena leaves tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. We just booked the car via the hotel, so it's normally €60 from here to Dubrovnik airport. But because you're before 7 a.m, which isn't their usual opening hours, they had 20%, €72, whatever. I'm going to leave at 8:30, I think, and that's going to be about €43 because I can use Uber. If for any reason there aren't Ubers around, we've checked daily since we've been here. I can then just book through them, which will be €60 as well. If Selena pre-booked an Uber, they were going to rip us off. €92 for a pre-booked Uber to do a 45-minute journey, which to me seems too much. So I think today what we're going to do, probably use the spa. They've given us some advice of going into the town, so it's a 10-minute taxi journey into town, and you can walk around, and there's a bar that's built into the cave, and then you've got a brand new marina that they've just, I don't know if they've built it or refurbished it. We might end up doing that. If not, we'll probably just spend time on site relaxing, going to the spa again. That's a good few hours that we can spend in between the spa and the pools. There's also a private beach section. I had no idea, but I don't know if it's just this coastline. It's not a sand beach coastline, so it's a pebble beach coastline. However, apparently on one of these islands out here, of which there are a good number of them, so I can't remember which one. Apparently it has one of the nicest beaches in Croatia, so we're told by a local, and it's the only sand beach, at least on this coastline. So I don't know if we're going to do that, because I think you have to go back into Old Town and get a half-an-hour ferry ride across. So probably we'll just go down onto the beach here. We had a great trip in Dubrovnik. Walked into a taxi at 6 a.m, went to the gym. Gym is really good at this resort, so I enjoyed about 45 minutes in the gym. Only one other person in there for about 10 minutes. Then I went and grabbed some breakfast, took my time, packed my bag, and then I had my taxi come and pick me up. Dubrovnik airport's tiny. It's what you'd expect for a small city location. Really easy to get through the airport. The lounge there is actually tiny, but okay. The food's terrible, but it's quite nice, the seating area. We then had to wait an hour for the plane to take off because Gatwick, for some reason, said there was bad weather, so they didn't have enough slots to land and take off planes. So there was an hour delay, and because we were already grounded, they didn't let us take off for an hour. So I got into Gatwick. I think it was just over an hour late, picked up the car, drove to, I was already late to all of the things I set up. I was meant to be seeing my tenant at a certain time, my brother at a certain time, but by the time I got to the home that I rented via Airbnb, it was very late, so I had to push everything back. But otherwise, it was a great couple of days in the UK. I think it's 2 now. I'm now at Hilton Gatwick because my flight's at 10 a.m. and I cannot be bothered to get up at 4 a.m. to make sure I'm here in time. So I stay in Hilton Gatwick the night before, and then it's a 10-minute walk from here to the airport. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.